So we got rid of the Canon G7X Mark II and we swapped it with the Canon EOS M50 mirrorless camera. Hey guys, my name is Stefano Lombardo and today I'm going to be talking to you why I decided that I would get the Canon M50 to replace the G7X Mark II that I had. Now the reason why I went with the G7X Mark II in the first place was because it's small, compact, I could slip it into my pocket, be great at videos, and also great at photography. Now the G7X Mark II is a point and shoot camera made by Canon. Now some might say that the G7X Mark II is a great vlogging camera. Now I do agree with them, but partially, only because it has a flip out screen, it's great quality, great lens, very light, compact, easy to hold. You can walk around with it all day and your arm won't get tired. Now at the time that I bought the G7X, I thought it would be a great idea. There was a lot of people reviewing the camera and saying that it's an awesome camera. So I went ahead, took the plunge, and I bought it. Now I was doing research on the G7X after I bought it, and I found a lot of problems that people were having with the G7X in the future. Now one of the major issues that consumers were having with the G7X was dust building up behind the lens. As you guys know, it's a point and shoot camera. You can't take the lens off. It's a built-in lens. Now I started doing research on that issue and it seems like the zoom rings on the G7X lens are not fully sealed, meaning that dust builds up behind the lens, and anytime you get light shining onto that lens, whether you're outside or using studio lighting, you're gonna get a green reflection on your lens. It's not gonna look pleasant if you're trying to take a good photo. Now I didn't like the fact that you had to send it off to Canon, wait for a replacement to come in, just to have that same problem in a year or two. That was the first issue. Now the second issue that I had with the camera was that there was no mic input. If you are planning on vlogging with this camera and going out and about, you are going to get a lot of wind noise. You're not going to get that good wind reduction, and this is because you don't have an external mic. You are using the built-in mic on the camera. Now there is a temporary solution. I've done it with my G7X, and you can get a wind muff, glue the bottom, or get 3M tape, double-sided tape, and place it over top of the mic. Now you are going to reduce that wind noise by a lot, but you won't completely get rid of it. Now thinking about these issues and knowing that I will be running into the dust issue a year or two down the road, I made a decision to buy another camera, and that is the Canon EOS M50.
Front door, front opening for
So this is a Canon EOS M50. It is a mirrorless camera made by Canon. Super light, super compact, and super small. I would say it's almost the size of the G7X. The thing that I really like about the Canon M50 is that it has a mic input. So I have my Rode Video Mic Pro attached to my M50. So I have my phone out here. I'm going to compare some of the specs between the G7X Mark II and the Canon M50. Before I go into the details, some of the specs that you guys should know is that the Canon G7X Mark II only shoots in 1080p, all the way from 24 frames per second up to 60 frames per second. If you are looking to get that super slow motion and bumping that frames per second up to 120, you can't do it with the G7X. On the other hand, the M50 shoots at 720p all the way up to 4K. It shoots 4K at 24 frames per second. It shoots 1080p at 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second. And it also shoots 720p at 120 frames per second if you want to get that super slow motion. So I'm just going to get into some of the details. Now also the Canon G7X has a 20 megapixel sensor when the M50 has a 24 megapixel sensor. Both cameras have built-in wireless, which is great if you want to transfer photos to your phone if you're on the go. The G7X has a 1-inch sensor when the M50 actually has a 1.6 times crop sensor, which means that any lens that you're going to add to the M50 will actually multiply by 1.6. So the 22mm lens actually becomes about a 35mm, and if you were to add a 50mm, that would be about 75mm after the 1.6 times crop factor. The G7X has an ISO minimum of 125 all the way up to 12,800, and it also has the ability to expand up to 25,000 600. Now the M50 has a minimum ISO of 100 all the way up to 25,600 with the ability to expand up to 51,200. Now that's insane. Both have a 3-inch LCD screen, but they both operate in different ways. The G7X has a tilting screen when the M50 has a fully articulating screen. Now the G7X, a point and shoot camera, has a built-in 24mm to 100mm zoom lens. Now this is a big one here. The G7X only uses 31 focus points when the M50 uses 143. That's a big increase. Both cameras have the option to use the Canon app to access your photos, access your videos, download them, and to also use your phone like a remote. To summarize everything, the G7X is still a great camera if you're looking for a small camera that you can throw in your pocket, very compact, you can bring it anywhere, it's light, you want to get some stills and you also want to get some video. It is an excellent camera, but obviously those pros come with some cons, and some of those cons are the dust behind the lens, having to figure out a way to remove that without damaging the camera or having to send it back to Canon to wait for another one. Now also remember that it doesn't have a mic input, so you can't add your own mic. You'll have to deal with the onboard built-in Canon one. Now the Canon M50, an ultimate beast in my eyes, and that's why I bought it. It's a very small, compact camera with a tilting screen, the ability to input any mic you want on it. If you guys like this comparison video, make sure you guys click that like button. Also drop in the comments if you'd like to see other cameras compared. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you want to see more content like this. Also click that bell to be notified when I post a new video. I'm Stefano Lombardo. Have a great day.